Drinking water that tastes bitter, paying exorbitant prices for water, and the risk of waterborne diseases. These are just a few of the harsh living realities that residents of Aminapah in the Ada East district of the Greater Accra region have to deal with daily. They depend mostly on rainwater for all their domestic chores and sometimes on the community stream if they are lucky. As part of our Safe Water project, JoyNews' Henry Kwesibedu visited the community. Here's his report read to you.
The source of water is unclean. Anytime my children drink the water, it upsets their stomachs, accompanied with diarrhea.
At Aminapah, this water source is a lifesaver. A colored, unclean, and mostly unreliable bitter source of water. But to get even a cup here is a real struggle.
The water here flows occasionally. Sometimes it flows once in 2 or 3 months.
Samuel Tay Gaduga is head teacher of the only school in the community. According to him, the situation is very pathetic as children fall ill and miss school after drinking from this source.
Using here is not hygienic, and even this rain water that you are talking about is only rain season that we get this one. And when the school children take it, it worries them a lot. At times they fall sick in the school, and we have to invite the parents to come and send them to hospital. The road to the hospital too is very bad.
Every household here has about 4 of these yellow 25-liter gallons for storing water. Helen Donu has 3 children. She pays for every gallon of water, which can barely take care of her many domestic chores.
We travel several distances to fetch other sources of water, which is also unclean. To get potable water, we pay exorbitant prices to tricycle operators. I buy a gallon for 2 Ghana cedis and about 50 Ghana cedis in a month.
Henry Kwesibedu with our Safe Water project story for today. Now, private broadcasting stations in Ghana are launching a campaign urging Ghanaians to rise up and oppose government's plan to introduce conditional access controls as part of the country's digital migration program. In a public service broadcast airing on member stations, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association argues such technology will have adverse effect on the fundamental rights of Ghanaians to access free-to-air digital TV. There's more in the following report.
After years of delays, Ghana is expected to migrate its broadcasting from analog to digital later this year. It will lead to the provision of better signal quality, high-definition services, and an increase in the capacity of transmission networks. Giba says, whilst this is welcome news, government approach to implementing it, it argues, will lead to stifling of citizens' fundamental rights to access radio and TV content.
The millions of digital TV sets already certified by the NCA, which have been purchased and installed at individual homes, offices, shops, stores, warehouses, and public places across the country, which are currently receiving digital TV programming, will abruptly stop receiving free-to-air digital TV unless access is enabled by the Ministry of Communications' chosen controller or operator through the opening of a conditional access encryption key. Even so, you can't receive free-to-air programs unless you acquire the ministry's prescribed CA control decoder in addition.
In a campaign video, Giba says other countries implementing the ITU-inspired broadcasting switch did not include a requirement for access control and urge Ghanaians to wake up and reject it.
Reject conditional access for free-to-air TV now. We are all excited for TV to go digital. Let's make sure we get it right. Free-to-air TV broadcasting must remain free as legally classified and authorized by the NCA.
But why should you be concerned?
It is your right, our right, to choose what programs or channels to watch. Free-to-air broadcasting through an intermediary content blocking mechanism such as the CA will make mass media communication vulnerable.
Giba says Ghanaians should only embrace what is good for us as a people and in accord with the law.
Well, later today, JoyNews will begin a campaign to demand a freer media space, a society in which journalists, media organizations and other players are able to practice without fear or favor. The launch of that campaign takes place live on the Pulse at 3 p.m. on the JoyNews channel. Also, it will be live on radio. And here is Raymond Aqua on the rationale behind the campaign.
The period. Let's start from 1992. We moved in 1991 after the repeal of the newspaper licensing laws. We moved into a space where we were allowing more people to set up their own private enterprise and all of that, and making sure that people can speak their minds without inhibitions or looking over their shoulder. What has happened over the period, and just around 2000, we consistently scored very high on the freedom houses, what they call it, freedom ranking and press freedom ranking, which got us to be in the category of a free media society, that is Ghana. Just around 2015, 2016, we moved from being totally free to partially free or partly free. It shows you that the red flags started showing at the time, that there are incidents, specific ones, that suggested that the people who practice in this space, unlike doctors, unlike nurses, they have peculiar challenges that prevents them from doing the work that they ought to do fully. So let me take just February 2017 to just around June of this particular year. There were 41 specific violations of the rights of media people.
In what forms?
Specifically, there was a killing. We know that. We know Ahmed Swali's own happened. And the only other time we've had a cinema was like 4 or 5 years ago. So there was a killing. There were 21 physical attacks on journalists who go about having to record, having to go cover an event, and then are subjected to attacks first by military officers, by police officers, and even within our own setup here, we can list the people, not only the reporters, but also cameramen who work here who have been subjected to these kind of attacks. There's also been attacks on media houses as institutions. And for a very long time, since the repeal of our laws and all of that, we've not had one phenomenon. Ryan said again, there's been closures of radio stations.
Don't forget, it's live at 3 p.m. The launch of that campaign. You can follow and join the conversation on social media, #DefendMediaFreedom. You're watching news that's coming up shortly. In business, pressure mounts on government to review 5% capital requirement for local firms that want a stake in oil blocks being allocated. Darokwao has details shortly.